love driving my Z, but this thing literally sounds like someone is farting through a trumpet into a megaphone. What up, Janky fam? I really wanted to record this one at an actual event, but the weather is not cooperating, so here we are back at Janky Drift HQ, aka my mom's basement. Nonetheless, after watching from the sidelines far too long, this year I drove my first drift event, and holy shit was I nervous. So in an effort to help folks who might be in a similar situation, this video is going to cover exactly what you should expect at your first drift event. First off, you're going to be nervous. It is perfectly normal. In fact, if you aren't nervous, you might be a serial killer. Second, you're probably going to spin. In fact, you are definitely going to spin, even if you've been practicing on sim or on the street. It's just part of the learning process. No one's going to be mad at you or judge you for spinning because we've all been there. In fact, my experience thus far at events is that people are super friendly and more than happy to help with tips, whether that be on car setup, technique, so on and so forth. So just don't be afraid to ask. Now, I feel like an old man when I say this, but one of the most important parts of drifting is prep. So before the event, make sure you go over your car, check torques, make sure nothing is broken or torn, pack a full toolkit, and have a contingency plan to get home in case things go south. Prep is also important in making sure that your car actually passes tech when you get to the event. So make sure you go over the tech sheet for whatever event you're attending because you can and will get turned away if you're missing things as simple as like a battery tie down. Another tip is making sure you sign up for the right class. A lot of events will have separate classes based on skill level, and novice classes tend to fill up really quick. If you sign up for a class that you're not qualified for, it is more than likely that you will not be allowed to drive on track. Anyway, on to the more fun part. I very much like to pack my gear in my car the night before an event, especially if it's a morning event because I am crusty as hell in the morning. Well, this is what a drift day looks like. Staying up way too late, waking up way too fucking early, and having dark circles under your eyes. But the good news, you crusty old is that the car is ready to go. You just need to get in it and drive. We even took the liberty of pre-attaching our nifty trailer that people look at us like we're crazy bringing to events. If you don't have a trailer, just jam everything inside your car like this or have a buddy, and then drive a cool 3 hours or so to your local event. Hopefully less. When you get to the event, you're gonna go find registration. Some events will have that directly at the gate and others will have you park and walk up. But here's where you'll pay if you haven't already, as well as sign the waiver, essentially saying that if you Dukes of Hazzard your car 30 feet into the air, they're not liable. At this point, they often give you a copy of the tech inspection sheet as well, and we'll probably tell you when and where to find the driver's meeting. From there, find a nice parking spot to unload your car, double check your lug nut torque and air pressure before watching some people carry a giant ass tent. Some events you take your car to a designated spot for tech, and other events they'll just walk around and tech your car on foot. Either way, they're gonna look under the hood and inside the car, so have everything open to make their life easier. Keeping your hood closed is not going to hide the fact that you don't have the battery tie down that I mentioned earlier. And then, once you get tech done, breathe. Look at how beautiful this track is. Take a deep breath. Ready? 1, 2. Point is, we're blowing through this kind of fast, but we're here to have fun. So take some time to enjoy it. I like to walk around and check out what everyone else is going to be running, start some random conversations. We're car people. We love when people tell us they like our car. And keep in mind, you will tend to see a lot of the same folks at future events, so it really pays to make friends, especially if you have a habit of leaving your goddamn battery pack at home. Then you're going to head over to the driver's meeting to get briefed, and generally speaking, they'll go over the track layout and rules, as well as how and where to queue up. Oftentimes, there'll be separate lines for tandem and singles, so make sure you understand all that. Maybe even reaffirm you're paying attention by scratching your chin like this. And finally, here's the main event. When it comes time to drive, some tracks have a separate portion for beginners. If they do, run that first. The track by me had a figure 8 for a while that was separate from the main track, and that'll help you get comfortable and get the jitters out. And then when you get on the real track, for the first few laps, take it easy, get to learn the course, slide the car around a little bit, but don't try to kill it just yet. At this point, you really just want to get a feel for the braking point of the tires and the handling characteristics of your car. And if you're brand new, this is the point where you're going to spin about 9,000 times. If you've been drifting on sim, you'll find it a pretty smooth transition after a few laps, and by the end of the event, you'll be killing it. There are a few different types of track setup. For some events, you can hot lap, which means doing multiple laps in a row without coming off the course. In other events, you basically go through the course once and get back in line. In either scenario, you really want to let your tires cool down after every few laps, because if you let them get too hot, you'll start burning through them really quick. So this is essentially just a tip to help you save some money. Double check your tire pressures periodically, as your rear tires will tend to increase a lot faster than your front. Also note that the further you run down on tires, the more likely they are to separate, meaning the top layer of rubber will separate from the belts and come off. Sometimes this isn't a big deal, but other times it can kind of whip around and cause some damage. So for me personally, I don't run them down to the belts like a lot of other folks do. Another consideration is making sure that you have enough tires to get yourself home. You want to bring at least an extra set to each event, especially if you're driving there. But essentially, yeah, that's it. It's really not a big deal. I know it's going to feel daunting going in. As mentioned, I was nervous as hell at my first event, and maybe 2 or 3 laps in, I was having a blast. And in the end, I'm so glad I did it because it allowed me to start this crappy YouTube channel. I'll say it again and again, but I strongly recommend starting on sim as it'll make your first event 1,000 times easier. But even if you don't have a sim setup and you're going in without any experience, it's fine. Don't be afraid to suck. Everyone has been there at some point. No one shoots out of the womb a pro drifter. One of my favorite quotes is that sucking at something is the first step to being good at something. And if you can tell me what show that is without Googling it, I will be very impressed. Nonetheless, I hope this helps calm your nerves. As always, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already, because I will love you forever. Forever.